All the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, I do.
I do.
Yes.
I do.
I do.
Yes.
Over the past few years, technology has taken over society. Everyone uses technology, from children and teenagers to adults and elders. Nowadays, technology is vital in today's world and makes everything easier, making the world move faster. But it also creates a harmful impact on human interaction, leading to various health, social, psychological, and mental issues. Depression, elicting feelings of envy, insecurity, and poor self-esteem. It is time to take this matter seriously.
When I first started teaching here, and I would walk into class, and everybody's just texting. I walk around campus, and sometimes I'd see students that I'd want to say hi, and their faces were in their phones, and there's this kind of protocol, that we all know about now, where you see somebody with their head buried in their phones, you're supposed to give them that bubble, and it's not that I didn't want to respect that, but it just felt really kind of alienating, and not that I want to be best friends with everybody, but it just it's kind of nice to have that kind of, for me, that kind of connection with students is I like having that.
Everyone can see that social media is an important part of our lives. So here are some statistics showing the trend and pattern of social networking sites. The percent of all the internet users, varied from teenagers to elders, has steadily risen from the past. Here is another graph of social media use over time. If you look at this graph, the rate of online adults using a social networking site has been increasingly gradual from 2005 to 2015. Facebook remains the most used social media site with 55.2% of all ages of internet users, and YouTube is next in line with 20.7% of them.
It's changed the meaning of security. It's changed the meaning of everything, even the word friend. When you think of how social media has changed everything about our world, like no other technology before, it's going to take new skills to learn how to use this new technology. No one has gone before you to lay that road. And I think that's what's going to be the change that's going to happen in the next generation. The next generation will look to your generation, teach us how do we do this without it destroying us. And already you start seeing a lot of people going away from social media because they're seeing it as this negative tool. And so you'll see kind of the pendulum will swing, I think, a little bit more the other way. It's an interesting time, for sure.
But even darker events were playing out in the real online world. 18-year-old New Jersey college student Tyler Clementi killed himself after his roommate humiliated him online.
That they don't only change what we do, they change who we are. They text and shop and go on Facebook during classes, during presentations, actually during all meetings.
The tools of the internet enabled this cruel or sadistic behavior to be amplified and publicized, not just on the campus, but throughout the world. And that really contributed to the extreme emotional reaction that the student had and his impulsive decision to take his life.
Even as we're all constantly connected to each other. We expect more from technology and less from each other. And I ask myself, why have things come to this? And I believe it's because technology appeals to us most where we are most vulnerable. And we are vulnerable. We're lonely, but we're afraid of intimacy.
Crime, cruelty, and tragedy online. potent reminders that technology can be a powerful tool for evil as well as for good.
Might be more harmful than helpful. The thing that I really enjoy with the informal research, I do informal research, is having students kind of conducting their own little experiments in the class. And so when I teach this course, The Search for Intimacy in the Age of Facebook, students have to go through like a series of, throughout the semester, a series of kind of outside experiments that they're kind of conducting on their own. And what it does is it gets them to look at, before we even get to the relationship that they have with the technology they're using most, or the platforms, what they're looking at is their relationship with other people, and learning about the idea of kind of finding a greater authenticity with themselves in the way that they communicate. So before we even get to, say, texting, or other forms of social media, students are looking at the way that they have face-to-face interactions. One of the things that I've done sometimes in that class is I'll have students. Cell phones are always off limits in my class in terms of having it out for a class, but once in a blue moon I might have it like an in-class little experiment. And so I might have students, for instance, get out their cell phones and or their smartphones and think about, before they do anything, to think about somebody that they really feel this need to share something with, that ordinarily they may not do it. And what I was asking them to do was to use it in a very different way, not to be mean, not to be combative, but to use these mediums in a way that there's a greater degree of authenticity in what they feel and how they're communicating it. Another thing that I ask students to do is towards the end of the semester, I ask them to eat alone in the dining hall during lunch when it's really crowded. And I ask them to sit down by themselves without any books, any tablets or laptops, without their smartphone out, without any friends, and to just kind of sit there and to have a meal by themselves. Some students occasionally find it really refreshing to do something like that they ordinarily wouldn't do, because they feel like they need they almost need the permission to do it, because they know that sitting alone, if they did it on their own volition, they would feel totally like an outsider. Some of them even said, I'd feel like a total loser because I'm not looking like I'm connected like everybody else is. Other students have literally, just packed up and run after they've done it for like 20 minutes or half hour, because after they finished their meal and eating by themselves, they just felt so uncomfortable being surrounded by their peers and not even pretending that they're texting, not even fake texting. They just feel like they must look like such pariahs and such losers that they just sometimes just run out literally run out of the dining room. The purpose of that one is kind of reversed. Instead of using the technology now, which they had used earlier, what they're doing now is they're surrounded by the technology in a room, but they're the only ones not using it. And it's kind of a way to kind of have a greater intimacy with self. And it's not to make everybody horribly uncomfortable and to create panic attacks. The goal is to be in an environment that kind of flies in the face of convention, which is being in a place where you're surrounded by peers and you're not in the loop. You're not connected. And to just kind of see what that feels like.
Some young people we see do experience some social isolation from bullying or other forms of on electronic media, through social media as well. We see some young people who get depressed because obviously people only post things on Facebook that are positive. And so for a young person who sees, pictures of other people in their schools having fun and doing all these wonderful things, they may feel isolated and depressed that they're not being included. And so for some people it can really lead to depression. We haven't really seen a lot of cases here in Baltimore per se, which is good, but there's been a lot of cases nationally of young people who were bullied or felt like they weren't being included and have led to serious depression and to suicide in some instances. Luckily, we haven't had any cases here in Baltimore as far as I'm aware, but it can lead to that as well. And really, I would just encourage people to reach out if you're feeling isolated or you're feeling depressed. You're likely not alone. I know sometimes it can feel like you're alone in those feelings, but really reach out and talk to people. Most college campuses have RAs as well. They might be a good person to talk to because they've worked with a lot of other freshmen over the years who can, and they know how to help. So really, my best suggestion is for people to reach out and talk to somebody. Don't go at it alone.
But our fantasies of substitution have cost us. Now we all need to focus on the many, many ways technology can lead us back to our real lives, our own bodies, our own communities, our own politics, our own planet. They need us. Let's talk about how we can use digital technology, the technology of our dreams, to make this life the life we can love.